Fred Darville loved ghosts. He wasn't afraid of spending the night in a haunted house or camping in damp mausoleums, because they were his thing, ever since 1992. He'd watched a fake news broadcast about ghosts and been hooked from there. Fred didn't believe ghosts were necessarily evil or tragic, just the dead locked in a series of events, repeating a major tragedy or clinging to a certain place. About a month ago, BAG, British Association of Ghost Watchers, a group he was a keen member of, had invited him to Castle Spire Manor in the north of Cumbria. They called him and asked if they would check out the ghost and give an opinion on the validity of the supernatural claim. BAG were also allowed to confirm or deny a claim of ghosts and whether they should be put on the National Charter of Approved Haunted Houses. The aged Volvo rolled up the drive towards an imposing house, captured in the sun's gaze. Castle Spire Manor could be seen from the nearest homes, 2 miles away. It loomed over its surroundings, and Fred was a bit apprehensive about the visit, because, actually, so was BAG. The owners, Maeve and Joseph Frostfall, had filed 2 claims in the past, both of which had been denied, and BAG now wanted to shut the pair up and stop them being a nuisance to the organisation. Just humour them and leave. Everyone in BAG and the surrounding villages knew they were just doing it for the money and the tourists. After enduring the twisting roads and poor weather on his journey, Fred finally came to a halt. A thick mist was descending off the 3 surrounding hills, and would be on them soon. The clouds were almost black, and a devilish downpour seemed imminent. Fred got out of the car, but had misjudged the amount of space available. Thumping loudly, the door banged into a stone wall, denting it underneath the handle. The cigarette that Fred had been rolling dropped into the wet grass as he assessed the damage. Not too nasty, but bad enough considering the minuscule wage he had and the outstanding MOT payment that was still due. As he was doing his assessment of his old car, he hadn't noticed a man dressed in your typical farmer outfit and a woman in a cream dress adorned with black roses walk up to the vehicle. Her dress seemed out of place considering the weather. "Good day, you are Mr. Darville," spoke the woman. Though looking old, she spoke with youthful vigour. "Right, yep, that's me. I assume you're the Frostfalls?" He shook Joseph's hand, which was old and crusty, then Maeve's, which wasn't crusty but was sweaty. He turned around, pulled a large suitcase and rucksack from the car and shut the door, accepting the dent yet cursing wildly in his head. The 3 chatted for a while as they walked over frosty grass towards the large manor. All the windows were tinted red, and creepers, vines, and an assortment of invasive plants had practically covered the house. It definitely fitted the stereotypical haunted house, but even then, stereotype. Surrounding the house was a layer of tall trees, short on greenery but covered in crisp brown and yellow leaves that were conspicuously chattering in the background. The stream in the nearest field sounded more like vicious waves crashing into the sharp rocks on a desolate beach. This place did have its peculiarities. Once inside the great manor, Darville put his bag down in the vestibule and continued through to a large area with a dining hall to the left, a staircase directly in front of him, another room to the right, and a doorway, presumably leading to the kitchen, to the right of that. Spiders had been having a party, covering most surfaces in a thin layer of cobwebs. "How long are you planning on staying?" asked Joseph. Fred was pretty sure he detected a twang of Scottish in his voice. Possibly he was a quarter or half Scottish. His wife, however, was pure posh English. "Probably tonight and tomorrow, but longer if necessary. I think there's an inn in Little Hodbury, so I'm probably staying there tonight," replied Fred. "There's no need for that, Mr. Darville. We've assembled a makeshift bed for you in the dining hall," Maeve said. "Really? Well, okay. Will you be staying over as well?" "Grief, no," Joseph cut in. "Me and my wife will be in our cottage just along the farm track. However, we'll check on you at 8 a.m. So about this ghost." "Ghosts, plural. Only appear after dusk. Probably be out in the next hour. Do you need us to stick around?" "No, it'd be better if I was alone." He turned around and collected his bags. Both of the Frostfalls stood in the hall, holding hands and staring at Fred. He shambled into the dining hall and put his suitcases onto the rotting table, which groaned in protest. Cobwebs flew everywhere, including some into the bag member's face. Making an echoing click, Fred unlatched the suitcase and proceeded to remove 6 cameras, audio equipment, sets of cabling and power supplies, and placed them on the table. He hadn't bothered to include anything else. This was to be a very superficial investigation. "Well, Joseph and I will be off." Maeve gripped his hand tightly in hers. "If you want the most haunted rooms in the house, check the kitchen and the upstairs landing. A woman named Melanie Stokes committed suicide in the kitchen 30 years ago, and a young child named Alex Berry was hung by his father on the landing. With that unnerving statement, Maeve released his hand, then followed her husband out of the house and along the track, age not slowing her. Outside, the mist had dropped from the hills and closed in, swallowing Castleswire Manor. For the next half hour, Fred set up cameras in the sitting room, downstairs hall, upstairs landing, the child's nursery/bedroom, and the master bedroom, and the oscilloscope in the dining hall. After this, the man went to set up the final camera in the kitchen. He found a can of beans and sausage, bowl and spoon. They must have been left by Joseph or Maeve. He had a hankering for a pie of some sort, his usual Tuesday supper, but he would have to make do. Fred pried open one of the cans of beans, scooped out the contents, plopping it into the porcelain bowl, then carried it into the dining room. He'd eat it cold. He glanced at the watch on his right wrist. 19:05. Time to settle down and begin the surveillance.